In this video, we are going to learn calculation of national income using the value added method. Now, in the previous video, we learned the three methods to calculate the national income. The first method is the value added method. Let's proceed. We know in a closed economy, there are two sectors, the producer sector and the consumer sector. The producers are the firms and consumers are the households. The firms or the producers produce goods and services for the consumption by the households or consumers. The firms use raw materials and convert them into finished goods. These finished goods are then added with value or value added, and that is what is sold as final goods. The final goods are then consumed by the households. The value of the output is otherwise called sales. The total value of output is equal to the total sales of the firms if the entire output is sold. So if the entire output that is produced is sold, then the value of the output will be equal to the value of sales. If there is an unsold output, then the value of the output will be equal to sales plus unsold stock or change in stock. Now, what is the change in stock? Change in stock is equal to closing stock minus opening stock. For those people who are learning accountancy, it becomes very easy to understand the closing stock and the opening stock. Otherwise, closing stock is that stock which is left unsold towards the end of the year. That is, let us say 31st of March 2000, any year, 31st of March. And opening stock is that stock which is counted on the first day of the next year. That is 1st of April. Now the intermediate consumption. Intermediate consumption is the value of non-factor inputs. Let's say raw materials or any other than the factor inputs. What are the factor inputs? Land, labor, entrepreneurship and capital. These four are called as factor inputs. So you can remember them very easily as CELL and read it in the reverse. Land, labor, entrepreneur and capital. Now during the period of 1 year of production of sales, generally counted for 1 year, then the gross value added at market price, that means the total value added to the output at market price, which is otherwise called gross value at GVAMP or GDP at MP, gross domestic product at market price, is equal to the gross value added by all the sectors in the economy. The primary sector plus the secondary sector plus the tertiary sector. So the gross value added by all the sectors in the economy gives us the gross value added at market price or the gross domestic product at market price. Now the national income, which is otherwise called net national product at factor cost, will be equal to the GDP MP that we calculate here minus depreciation, which gives us the net domestic product at market price. Now this gross value minus depreciation would give us net value. We already learned gross value includes depreciation. So if you remove depreciation, we get the net value. Now the net value minus the net indirect taxes. What is net indirect taxes? Indirect taxes minus subsidies. These taxes called GST, which the consumer is paying or otherwise the producers pay to the government, minus the subsidies which the government provides to firms and households. So the difference between them gives us the net indirect taxes. This will give rise to net domestic product at factor cost. Market price minus net indirect taxes gives us the factor cost. Now, net domestic product at factor cost, otherwise called domestic product, this is domestic product. So this domestic product plus net factor income from abroad gives us the net national product at factor cost, otherwise called national income here. So when we want to calculate national income, the gross domestic product at market price minus depreciation minus NIT and plus NFIA gives us the net national product at factor cost. Let's understand them individually. The gross values can be gross value added, gross domestic product or gross national product. Minus depreciation, any gross value minus depreciation would give us the net value, the corresponding net value. Gross value added minus depreciation gives us net value added. Gross domestic product minus depreciation gives us net domestic product. Gross national product minus depreciation gives us the net national product. Now market price minus net indirect taxes gives us the factor cost, because market price includes net indirect taxes. So if we remove net indirect taxes, we get the factor cost. Now the domestic product plus NFIA or net factor income from abroad will give us the national product. To domestic product, we need to add this factor income that is coming from abroad, and so that gives us the national product. The net factor income from abroad includes factor income to abroad minus factor income from abroad. The difference between factor income to abroad and factor income from abroad gives us the net value of the factor income from abroad. So that will give us the national product. Now if you want to convert GDP-MP, the gross value at market price, to net national product at factor cost, then we will use these three steps. The gross value needs to be converted into net value. So what we do? We subtract depreciation. Then domestic product is to be converted into national products. So domestic product to national product would mean we add net factor income from abroad. Now the third is the market price is converted into factor cost. How do we convert market price to factor cost? We subtract the net indirect taxes. So GDP-MP minus depreciation plus NFIA minus NIT gives us the NNP-FC or the national product. So those are the three positions that we need to consider to arrive at the national income. Gross gets converted to net by subtracting depreciation. Domestic gets converted to national by adding NFIA, and market price gets converted to factor cost by subtracting the net indirect taxes. However, there are certain precautions as to what to include and what not to include while calculating the national income by this value added method. The commission that is earned on second-hand goods needs to be included, whereas value of the sale of second-hand goods should not be included, because this value is already included in the production of the final good. However, the commission needs to be added. The imputed value of produced goods for self-consumption needs to be added. What is the imputed value? If, for example, a farmer produces food grains. If he consumes a part of the food grains, the production has taken place, and so the value needs to be added to the national income. Now, a car that is used to transport employees has costed the company some amount of money. That means this is a final good for the company, but it is utilizing it for transporting employees. So the imputed value of the car for its own use, had he given it for rent to somebody or run as cab, he would have earned some money. For himself, that value would be called as the imputed value. Now the own house. For example, he uses the own house to produce some goods. Then what is the rent that he would pay had it been somebody else's? But now because he is using for himself, what is the value that he would pay as rent? That would be called as the imputed value. So this imputed value has to be included in the national income, whereas the value of intermediate goods need not be included in the national income, as it is included already in the final value of the goods. If this is added, then that would give rise to double counting. That means once we are adding to the intermediate good and again with the final good. So it gets added up every stage and you get more value for the national income, which is wrong. Services for self-consumption. That means a housewife's services or the services that we perform at home need not be included in the national income because these are not economic activities. These are non-economic activities. Suppose you iron clothes for the members of the family or your dad polishes shoes for you to go to school, then they need not be included in the national income. Let's now solve a problem to understand this better. Calculate sales from the data. We are given net value added at factor cost, depreciation, change in stock, intermediate cost, exports and indirect taxes. Now, we should always remember how to calculate net value added at factor cost. The formula to calculate net value added at factor cost is given by the total sales plus a change in stock if any. That means if there was any unsold stock in the previous year, that would give rise to a change in stock, minus the intermediate consumption. Intermediate consumption or intermediate cost is not included in the national income, minus depreciation, minus indirect taxes. Alright, so we rearrange these because we want sales and we are given net value added at factor cost here. So we will rearrange them and calculate the value of sales. So this comes over here. So we have NVAFC, that is net value added at factor cost. Now all these will change. Plus becomes minus change in stock. This becomes plus intermediate cost plus depreciation plus indirect taxes. Since we are changing the sides across this equation. Now we'll put the values and arrive at the answer. So what is NVAFC? It is equal to 560 crores minus change in stock is minus 30. So we write minus 30 in bracket plus what is intermediate cost? Intermediate cost is 1000 crore. So 1000 plus depreciation. Depreciation is 60 crores plus indirect taxes. We are given indirect taxes. If we are given subsidies, then we will find net indirect taxes. However, here it is only indirect taxes. So this is equal to 60 again. So if you calculate, you get 560 plus 30 plus 1000 plus 60 plus 60. So this would give us a value of 590, 1590 plus 120 gives a 1710 crore, right? Is it given? Oh, sorry, it is given in lakhs. So this is lakh. So that's our NVAFC, net value added at factor cost. What is NVAFC? NVA at FC is nothing but NDPFC. NVAFC is equal to NDPFC. NDPFC is equal to domestic income. So we calculated domestic income. To arrive at national income, we will need one more called NFIA or net factor income from abroad. We are not given net factor income from abroad if we were to calculate national product. Okay, so that is the calculation of NVAFC or NDPFC, that is the domestic income.